Cancer is one of those words that can instantly make a simple question feel complicated. We often hear that something causes cancer, whether it's a chemical, a habit, a food, or something in the environment. But cancer isn't caused by one mysterious substance or one bad decision. It begins with something much smaller, a cell whose normal controls have gone wrong. So what actually happens when an ordinary cell starts down that dangerous path? Let's take a closer look, right here, on History of Simple Things. Your body is made of trillions of cells, and every one of them has a job. Some make up your skin. Others form your muscles, organs, blood vessels, or nervous system. And because cells wear out or become damaged, your body constantly makes new ones to replace them. Normally, this process is tightly controlled. A cell grows when it receives the right signals. It divides when necessary. It repairs damage when it can. And when a cell becomes too damaged or unnecessary, it can trigger a controlled form of self-destruction called apoptosis. Think of it as having a built-in system of brakes. Cancer happens when those brakes begin to fail. A cancer cell can start dividing when it shouldn't. It may ignore signals telling it to stop. It may avoid dying when a damaged cell normally would. And as abnormal cells accumulate, they can eventually form a tumor or interfere with the normal operation of tissues and organs. But that raises an important question. Why do those cells change in the first place? The answer begins with DNA. Inside almost every cell is a set of genetic instructions that tells the cell how to function. Certain sections of DNA, called genes, help control things like cell growth, division, repair, and survival. If DNA is damaged, those instructions can change. Sometimes the damage affects genes that normally tell a cell when to grow or stop growing. Other changes can interfere with the cell's ability to repair DNA or destroy itself when something goes seriously wrong. These changes are called mutations, but having a mutation doesn't automatically mean someone will develop cancer. Our cells experience DNA damage surprisingly often. Fortunately, the body has several layers of protection. DNA can be repaired, damaged cells can stop dividing, and cells with severe problems can be eliminated. Cancer generally develops when enough harmful changes accumulate to give a cell a significant advantage over its neighbors. In other words, cancer isn't usually one mutation suddenly flipping a switch. It's often a long process involving multiple changes. Some mutations happen simply because cells divide. Every time a cell copies its DNA, there is an opportunity for an error. The copying machinery is remarkably accurate, but it isn't absolutely perfect. Over many years, small changes can accumulate. This helps explain one of the biggest risk factors for cancer: age. The longer you live, the more opportunities your cells have had to divide, experience damage, and accumulate genetic changes. But random errors aren't the whole story. DNA can also be damaged by things outside the cell. Certain substances, forms of radiation, infections, and long-term exposure to harmful conditions can increase the chances of mutations occurring. And this is where the phrase "causes cancer" becomes a little more complicated. A substance or exposure that can increase the risk of cancer is called a carcinogen. One of the clearest examples is tobacco smoke. Cigarette smoke contains many chemicals capable of damaging DNA and promoting cancer development. Long-term tobacco exposure greatly increases the risk of several cancers, including cancers of the lung, mouth, throat, and bladder. Ultraviolet radiation from sunlight is another example. UV radiation can damage DNA in skin cells. Most of that damage is repaired or eliminated, but repeated exposure can increase the chance that harmful mutations accumulate, contributing to skin cancer. Certain types of ionizing radiation can also damage DNA, and some infections can contribute to cancer as well. Certain strains of human papillomavirus, for example, can cause persistent changes in infected cells that increase the risk of several cancers. But here's an important distinction. A carcinogen doesn't mean this will definitely give you cancer. It means the exposure can increase the probability. Cancer is influenced by multiple factors, and the same exposure can affect different people differently. Some behaviors can increase cancer risk too. Tobacco use is one of the strongest examples. Alcohol consumption can also increase the risk of several cancers. The risk generally rises with greater alcohol exposure, and alcohol can contribute to cancer through several biological mechanisms. Excess body weight is associated with increased risk for certain cancers as well, partly because of changes involving hormones, inflammation, and metabolism. And physical inactivity is associated with higher risk for some cancers. But it's important not to turn these facts into blame. Cancer isn't simply the result of someone making the wrong choices. A person can live a very healthy lifestyle and still develop cancer. Another person may have several risk factors and never develop it. Risk factors change probabilities. They don't determine an individual's fate. A dangerous cancer isn't just a collection of cells growing too quickly. Cancer cells can acquire abilities that normal cells don't have. They can stimulate the growth of new blood vessels to supply a tumor. They can invade nearby tissues. And some cancer cells can break away from the original tumor and travel to distant parts of the body. This process is called metastasis. Metastatic cancer is particularly serious because the disease is no longer confined to where it originally began. A cancer that starts in one organ can eventually affect other organs, making treatment much more complicated. So, what really causes cancer? If we strip away all the complicated terminology, the simplest answer is this. Cancer develops when cells accumulate genetic and other biological changes that allow them to grow, survive, and spread when normal controls would prevent them from doing so. Those changes can come from random errors during cell division, inherited mutations, aging, environmental exposures, infections, lifestyle factors, or combinations of several influences. And sometimes, even after extensive investigation, we can't point to one specific cause for an individual's cancer. That's because cancer isn't one disease with one cause. It's a large collection of diseases that can arise through different pathways. The important thing is that our bodies aren't defenseless. Cells have remarkable systems for detecting damage, repairing DNA, stopping abnormal growth, and eliminating dangerous cells. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.